Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm about to be reviewing Maze Runner: The Death Cure. Now, fair warning, there are spoilers up ahead for the final installment of this trilogy, and if you don't want to know what happens, then stop watching this video right now. But if you do want to hear my opinions on the Maze Runner: The Death Cure, keep watching. Okay, so welcome back everyone. I have been waiting 5 years to watch this movie, and because I read the books 5 years ago, and then the movies started coming out, and I just got more and more excited for this movie, and I'm so relieved that I finally got to watch it. I was away the past 2 days, which is why I didn't get to watch it earlier in the weekend, but I finally got to do it, so here I am about to review the movie for you. My initial reaction when leaving Maze Runner: The Death Cure is that I really, really, really liked it. I was very proud of the movie. I was proud to have stuck by the franchise for so long, because it did take, especially with that gap between the Scorch Trials and the Death Cure, it was a little tedious, and I did kind of fade away a little bit. I mean, I didn't like reread the books or watch the movies again like too often, but I was still kind of anticipating and waiting and keeping my eye out for news and everything. But again, my initial reaction, I really liked this movie a lot. And right when the movie ended, if you'd asked me to say anything, I actually would not have been able to speak, because for the last half hour to 45 minutes or so of the movie, I was sobbing. I literally was sobbing for the whole last part, like the last maybe third or so of the movie, maybe the last fourth of the movie until the end of the credits. I was heavily sobbing. Like, it was crazy, and for various reasons as well, one of which being the fact that I've dedicated so much time and energy and love into this series, and to see it conclude on screen in just such a way that I just loved so much, and it just felt so complete to me. It just made me very emotional. But there was also some death at the end there that also made me very emotional. So we are gonna get to that. Now the next thing I'm gonna, I guess, talk about going off of that is, did I think it was a good conclusion? And yes, I actually did think it was a very good conclusion. I think that they tied up all the strings from the movies very, very nicely. I thought it was an action-packed movie. I was on the edge of my seat. I was very excited to be watching it. And yeah, I mean, I honestly did not have the highest expectations going into this film, because of the fact that the last movie wasn't as good as it could have been. I mean, it wasn't, and I just been talking to someone about this. I mean, it wasn't a terrible movie, but it definitely wasn't very focused, and it definitely could have been improved. So, and then there was also the 2-year wait that we had to go through, and after all of that, I kind of lost a little bit of hope that they would really finish this strongly, but I feel that they did, and I will explain why in this review. Was it similar to the book? I think that it was similar to the book when it needed to be, but there were a lot of things that have been changed, and that's because they made changes in the second book, in the second movie, and in the first movie, and so those just kind of carried through. There were other major changes and major scenes that I did not expect. Luckily, when I was watching cast interviews before, some of those big changes were spoiled for me, and I'm actually kind of happy that they were, because had I had known about some of the changes to some deaths, that would have really annoyed me if I was like watching the movie and I didn't expect it. But at the same time, I didn't expect all of what happened, all of the like some last words of some characters, who kills who in circumstances, more than one circumstance, just like the plot line of the movie in general. I think if I had reread the book more recently, that would have very much annoyed me. I actually have not reread The Death Cure at all. I mean, I did reread the end, not I mean, a few months ago, but I haven't. Before the Scorch Trials, I reread the Scorch Trial. Before the Maze Runner, I had just finished reading the whole series, so it was all fresh in my mind. And the changes that were made in the Maze Runner, I actually thought helped the movie, but they were still very prominent to me because I had just read the books. When the Maze Runner was when the Scorch Trials was about to come out, I had just reread the Scorch Trials, and so all the changes that they made in the Scorch Trials really, really annoyed me. And for this movie, especially because it was the final installment, I made a point to not go back and reread the entire series or the entire last book, because I did not want that to be holding back my movie-going experience, because they are, as they've made very clear, very different entities at this point. I mean, if you just read The Death Cure, don't go into watching the movie thinking that it's all going to be the exact same, because it's not going to be, but there are going to be changes that I actually think I think they were nice that they changed the book. I mean, in the book, and again, spoiler warning, in the book, Thomas is the one who kills Newt after Newt begs him and begs him and begs him to kill him. In the movie, Newt kills himself. In the book, it's a gun. In the movie, it's a knife. In the movie, "Please Tommy, please" aren't his last words, but they are some of his last words. And it is still the same purpose of him begging Thomas to kill him. And something like that, which is just so emotional, and one of the biggest parts, if not the biggest part, of the entire series of books. I almost felt it was nice that they changed it in the movie, because it had a different sense of emotional weight, and it kind of it made it new and fresh a little bit, because those of us who have read the books, we know that page 250 like the back of our hands, and it didn't annoy me that they changed stuff like that, and I thought the movie was better as a whole for the changes that it did make. It was focused, it was clean, and I liked it. Moving on to the characters, Dylan O'Brien, his portrayal of Thomas. I thought in this movie it was the most likable version of Thomas. Mainly, I liked this version of Thomas because he was a better leader. He definitely knew what he was doing more. And yeah, I just liked Thomas the most in this movie, I think. Dylan O'Brien did a great job, per usual. But yes, he did a very good job, and I'm proud of him for coming back and finishing this movie after the accident as well, because I mean, watching that whole beginning scene with him with the train and everything, I was worried for him. Because all I could think about was when he fell and the accident, and I'm glad he's better, and I applaud him for having the courage to finish these movies. It's very, very brave of him. Moving on to Thomas Brodie-Sangster as Newt. Newt was my favorite character. Throughout all the books, throughout all the movies, Newt was just, I think he was the most like me. I really, 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 really love Newt. Watching Thomas Brodie-Sangster portray kind of him falling into that sickness more and more and more throughout the film. It was hard to watch, but it was so well done. And Thomas Brodie-Sangster did such a good job, especially in the whole scene leading up to Newt's death. It was amazing, and Newt's death in general, as I said, I think it was done very well. It was very emotional. Had me nervous, even though I knew it was going to happen. And yeah, I think I'm glad that I got to watch this character progress the way that he did throughout the books and throughout the movies in two different ways, but also similar, and I think it was very well done. So I applaud Thomas Brodie-Sangster for portraying Newt in such an amazing way, and I'm happy with how the character turned out. I'm very relieved. He didn't have as big of a part in the movies, obviously, because they were more condensed, but I'm happy. I'm very happy with everything. Okay, moving on to Kaya Scodelario as Teresa. This was my favorite movie for Teresa. My friend who I took to see the movie with me, she hated Teresa and she was happy that she died. But I think Teresa was a very interesting character because you can see her side of things and you can understand, and she's everyone's right sort of in this movie with the exception of a few people, but you can understand, why she's making the choices that she's making. I think that she was just very well written, and you could see the conflict inside of her. And I mean, that little girl, like, it was so hard. I mean, I was relieved. I was like, oh yay, they saved the little girl, this is beautiful, Teresa's doing the right thing. And then when the little girl actually got sick again and she succumbed to the disease, and you saw the look on Teresa's face. I mean, I thought that Kaya, I thought she did an amazing job, and she made me like Teresa a lot more than I already did, and I'm happy that she was the actress that was chosen to portray her. I thought she did an amazing job, and she leaves you torn as to whose side you're really on. I mean, I was kind of on both sides, to be honest. I mean, I was rooting for Thomas and Newt and Frypan and all of them, but I also was rooting for Teresa and Ava Page to find a cure because I truly feel like they actually wanted one. And moving on to Ava Page, this movie made me actually really like Ava Page. Her means by which she reaches a cure are sketchy, I will admit. It's confusing about why she needs to do the things that she needs to do. But overall, I think the way that Patricia Clarkson plays her, she makes her kind of easy to like. Like, she just seems so soft and calm, and not in an evil kind of creepy way, but like she truly wants to find a cure, and I could tell in this movie at least. And I kind of felt bad when she died, to be honest, but and I didn't feel that way in the books necessarily, but I really am happy with the way that she was utilized in this movie. And then moving on to the person who killed her, Aidan Gillen, playing Jansen. Jansen is equally as unlikable in this movie as he is in the other movie, and he's equally as unlikable as Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, who Aidan Gillen also plays. Hate Jansen. I hate him so much. Aidan Gillen is so good at playing characters that you just love to hate. But I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just really did not like Jansen, but like, that, props to James Dashner, T.S. Nolan, and also to Aidan Gillen, because they made me hate him for a reason. And I could just tell how much, like, Thomas hated him and stuff, and then made me hate him. He was also being a little creepy towards Teresa. So, we're gonna move on. Will Poulter, who is amazing. I was so happy they brought Gally back. I forgot to talk about it. I didn't think they were actually going to do that in the movies, but they did, and it was great, and he did such a good job. Anyway, Ki Hong Lee as Minho. I mean, he had a much smaller role in this movie, which is kind of sad, but it made sense. He didn't get kidnapped in the books, so they kind of did that to him. But Ki Hong Lee did a very good job of making the whole situation. I mean, we all felt pretty bad for Minho watching. Very sympathetic, and I thought he did a great job. I mean, he didn't have that much to do, but with what he did do, I mean, it was terrifying. Also, when he was back in the maze, like, in his head, was that actually, like, him waking up in the maze, like, those visions of, like, people, like, carving names onto the wall? Like, was that actually, like, what he saw? Like, I want to rewatch the movie, and see if, like, that was Newt and Albie and everyone, like, carving the names on the walls far away, and, like, who that little kid was, because I think that was a little glimpse into before Thomas got there, which was pretty cool. Moving on to Brenda, played by the fabulous Rosa Salazar. I love the movie versions of Brenda. I did not like her in the books at all. I thought she was kind of annoying and she kind of intrusive, and I didn't like that her and Thomas like went off and the rest of the characters kind of got left behind. And but in the movie, man, she is an A+, 100% powered up, amazing female action hero, and she was so good. And I love that she was laughing like when she was driving that bus all over the place. And she has great aim, and she's just a warrior, and I loved watching her. Every time she was on the screen, it was just electric, and I was just so, I mean, I would love to see like a Brenda Jorge spin-off movie. I thought it was great, and I thought that Juan Carlo Esposito did an amazing job as Jorge. Dexter Darden did great as Fry Pan. I mean, the other roles were smaller, but I think everyone pulled their weight in this movie. They all did a great job. There was no point where I was like, oh, that's terrible acting, like, which happens in some movies. And overall, I was very impressed with the cast performances, and especially in the action sequences. And we are now moving on to the action sequences. They were fantastic. They were energetic, and they were very, very, very well choreographed. And I knew that from the trailer, because the trailer had such a good rhythm to it, and the action scenes, I mean, I just love watching them run in the Maze Runner movies, because I think of the way it's filmed with the camera movement, it's just so good. And I don't know, I need to look up who the cinematographer is, but I mean, Westball's directing is just downright amazing, and I just think that for the action sequences, at least, I think that's something I'm really gonna miss, you know? I thought the action sequences in this movie were the best. I mean, there were more, obviously. That opening scene was great. For those of you who want to see a good action movie, this is a good one. Now I guess I'm gonna start to close things up. And now I have the question ahead of me, is this better than the other two? Is it better than The Maze Runner? And is it better than Maze Runner: The Scorched Trials movies? It's better than Maze Runner: The Scorched Trials, in my opinion. And I can't tell you if it's better than the original Maze Runner, because I just saw this movie, like, I just saw it a few hours ago, so I need to take a step back, watch the movie a few more times, give it some time, and then I'll be able to answer that question. But I do think it was an incredible movie, and it was a great finale. It was a great finale. And should you see it? If you've seen the other two movies, if you've stuck it out, I would 100% recommend that you go see this movie. It's a fun movie. It's very fun to watch. It's action-packed, and it provides a nice, neat conclusion. It provides a nice, neat conclusion. Ties the loose ends. It's nice. It puts a little bow on it and says, this was our beginning, middle, and end. This was our trilogy. Here you go. It will provide you some great closure. And you just get to see what happens to the characters. I mean, you've already dedicated like 4 hours of your life to watching the first two movies. If you've only that's saying you've only seen the first two movies once, which I guess most people would have only seen them once. So what's another 2.5 hours to just, you know, close it out? I recommend you go see it. I mean, I had a lot of fun watching it, and the friend that I took to watch it, she actually had a lot of fun watching it too. And that's because, and I mean, she just wanted to go see a movie. Like, she was excited, she was pumped, but she had not seen the first two movies, and she had not read the books, and as far as I know, she had not read the books. And I, on the way there, literally explained what happened in the first two movies to her, so she wouldn't be confused. And if you have not seen the movies or read the books, and you're considering going seeing this movie, I would do your research before, because you will be confused. Only because they're going to be alluding to things that happen in the other two movies, and you're going to be like, what the heck? Like, why is there this disease? Who are all these people they're talking about that died? What's this? What's that? Why is there motivation? When did this person betray the other people? Like, stuff like that. I would definitely do your background research, but I do recommend this movie to everyone. I thought it was fun, and yeah. And lastly, I want to close out this video by thanking anyone who was responsible for the making of this movie. I doubt that anyone that was responsible for the making of this movie is actually going to see this video, but I just want James Dashner, Wes Ball, T.S. Nolan, Dylan O'Brien, Thomas Brodie-Sangster, Dexter Darden, Ki-Hong Lee, Rosa Salazar, Kaya Scodelario, Will Poulter. I just want to thank all of them, because it's been a rocky road, there's no denying it, but we have officially gotten all 3 of the movies, and it just closed out. I just feel so at peace, and I feel like I just had the best sense of closure ever. And it was hard to watch it end. As I said, I cried a lot, but I mean, it's over and we did it, and I think, I think they did it very well, and I'm proud of these movies, and I'm glad that I was a fan and that I got to watch them play out. I mean, that didn't really happen to me. I can't even name. Let me think for a minute, and then I'm gonna, yep, I was right. This is the only time, and I just did a lot of thinking. This is the first series, and only series, where I have read all the books, and then after, got to watch them make a franchise out of it, a movie franchise, and got to watch all the movies. That's the only time that's happened for me, and that's why The Maze Runner holds a very, very, very special place in my heart. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to anyone who was responsible for the making of this film, or all 3 films, because I just feel so relieved and proud that I made it through it, and it was such a big part of my life. And I know the books were very different from the movies, but overall, I think as 2 separate entities, they were amazing, and I'm happy with them. And that is my review of Maze Runner: The Death Cure, and I recommend that you guys go see it. I'm gonna watch it again, hopefully in theaters, but there's a lot of other movies I would like to see as well. And yeah, so there's a lot of stuff coming up. Let me know in the comment section down below what you would like me to make videos about. If you would like me to react to certain trailers, review certain movies. I'm going to try and see some more movies, and even though they'll be late, I'll try and do reviews for them, because I really, really want to review some movies that have been out. And yeah, and then yeah, so let me know any requests you have. Let me know what you think about this video, what you thought of Maze Runner: The Death Cure. Let me know if you're thinking about seeing it, if you have seen it, what you thought of it. Let me know who your favorite characters are too. As I said, mine's Newt. And yeah, so hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of my opinions and reactions and stuff like that. And hit the thumbs up button if you agreed with any of my opinions or you liked this video. And yeah, so have a good day, everyone. And I look forward to getting to talk about some more movies with you after this. Bye, guys.